it is June 12th. It is extremely windy out, as you can see. It's been raining a lot here in New England over the last week or so. So I haven't been able to do any update videos as far as my garden. It stopped raining for a little bit, even though I think it is about to rain some more. I think it's also in the forecast. So I'm going to do a quick update video on what's going on in the garden. So as you know, I have flowers in my sunflower, which is finally getting better. After I did the transfer, my sunflowers in these three weren't doing as well. Versus this one, as you can see, that I grew in this cinder block. I just moved it more to the center. Has a nice thick stem versus these that are very skinny. Something I learned again from this year is if you're going to do sunflower seeds for sunflower, you need to plant them where you want them to grow. And you don't want to grow them too close together. So like what I have decided to do with transferring the other three, one sunflower seed per cinder block opening seems ideal for them. So we have my flowers in the alternating ones, and then in each one in the middle we have beets. Now my beets are growing, each one has their own row of beets, so they're very growing, which is great. The rain has actually done wonders for them. When you're doing seedlings, a lot of rain is needed. Now we did the transfer of the carrot germinating paper towel into my garden. Let the truck go by. But what I've learned is it is probably best to let it grow a little bit more in the paper towel so you get a nice, stronger root system than what I had. Because once I transferred it in, and with the sun that we had for the 2 days prior to rain, they burnt out all my carrot seeds. So what I have on this section here is more carrot seeds that I planted actually directly into the soil with the seeds. And on this half, I have a mixed green seed mixture, which you can actually see some of the seeds have grown. They're very, very small, so they're a little bit difficult to see. And what I did is I put a light sprinkle of soil on top of the seeds, so that way it gets a lot more of a direct sunlight and a direct water source versus having to go through a lot of dirt. Then we have my row of radishes here, as you can see. I'm going to leave it like this. Typically you would spread them out once they've gotten to this height or a little bit bigger, but I'm going to leave it like this and see how it goes. I'm not a big radish eater, but my mother-in-law likes radishes, so I'm sure she'll be content with whatever size they end up being. And then we have my green beans, as you can see, have grown tremendously. The rain has done wonders for them. And they still have a little bit more room up the thing to go. And I might even have them going over and maybe scaling the fence or whatever. It's very beautiful and I like it. They're all pretty much flowering, as you can see. I'm getting a lot of production on this year. Last year I did not get production on my green beans, or very, very, very little. And that was due to sun. So I gave it its own little area, some nice sun, been giving it a nice fertilizer, and it's doing great. I'm very happy about that. Then we have my cucumbers that did well last year, but don't look as good as this does right now. And this is because I've given it a nice direct sunlight in its own little area. Now, I've been taking it and kind of intertwining it into the trellising, and I've kind of been guiding their little arms here that actually are like their own zip ties, so that they stay nice and strong. As you can see right here, it has corralled itself around there. It's doing really, really great. There's a lot of, growth going on, as you can see inside the center of each thing. And it's doing awesome. I like it. Then we have my eggplant, which has gotten just a tad bit bigger. The more leaves have grown in. As you can see, I have some damaged leaves here from bugs that I've been basically coming to the back of each of the leaves. And you can actually see the little guys right there, if you can see that. a little out of focus, and then going in and kind of pressing on them. I do have a flower growing, which makes me very happy, which means I will be having an eggplant soon. Then we have my 4 different kinds of peppers that I have going on. We have the jalapenos, which is doing great. It's getting a little bit bigger, which is making me happy. And it already has some jalapenos growing. I have 3 and 3 flowers. Doing great. I love it. Then we have the green bell peppers that have been doing very well as also. They're getting a little bit bigger, which is making me happy. Then we have the big Bertha here on this end. Then we have the yellow bell over here, which has some flowers going as well, as you can see. Now for my tomatoes, I have 3 different varieties. I have my cherry, my beefsteak, and my better boy. So my cherry obviously has been doing a lot better than the other 2, and that's because of the amount of sun that it is getting. So I'm definitely going to be doing my tomatoes again next year on this end, because that way it doesn't overshadow the rest of my garden. That's actually doing really well. But I'm going to be cutting down some of these branches of trees that are covering my sunlight next year, probably around the fall, because it's a lot easier to do it while there's no leaves up there. And that way I can get a better direct sunlight to my tomatoes that will be growing on this end. So my cherry tomatoes, as you can see, have always pretty much had a good source of flowering. There is a lot of little bugs on there, but they're not doing anything. They're not bothering the tree, so I'm going to leave them there. I have a lot of cherry tomatoes already on the stem, as you can see. I love cherry tomatoes. They're really good. Nice balsamic reduction or vinaigrette on top. I can just pop them in my mouth and probably buy some fresh mozzarella that are around the same size. And I can even do little tomato mozzarella salad skewers. Really good, really simple, easy. I love cherry tomatoes. Great for salads. Then we have the beefsteak that I have here. And remember, the better boys were here prior to the beefsteak. I decided to put the beefsteak here because it's a little bit of a same growth pattern as the cherry tomatoes. They haven't gotten too much bigger than when I bought it, but they have gotten just a few inches bigger. And I have tomatoes and more flowering happening, which I'm content with. I am planning on getting it to grow a little bit better, because tomatoes are a big part of what we eat over the summer because they're very refreshing. You can do a lot with them. Even if they're the green tomatoes, you can fry them. You can do whatever you want with some tomatoes. Very good, acidic. I like them. Then we have the better boys. Now, I don't see much flowering going on with the better boys. They are getting a little bit bigger as far as growth and with the leaves, but as far as flowering is concerned, not much going on here. You do see a little bit of like bud sectionals going on here, but not much. Part of the reason why I moved the better boys was for that very reason. It was getting bushy, but I wasn't getting any flowering, so I wanted to get something else in the garden that I know works well. Now we go down to our cinder blocks. We have the rosemary here, which are getting a little bit bigger, but not too big. Then we have our sage, which is doing really well. And our basil. Our basil is doing great. You can actually see the leaves forming on the basil, and we'll allow it to get a little bit bigger. Now, something with the rain that's been happening to me a lot this year, because it's been raining a lot more, is mushrooms. At first, I was getting bothered by the mushrooms, but now they're really not doing anything. They're not hurting. They're not taking nutrient sources from my plant, so I'm going to allow them to stay. Once my basil gets a little bit bigger and taller, I won't get mushrooms. So once I get more shading going on and no direct sunlight to them, they won't be growing. So not a big deal. So I have my oregano growing. It's doing well, but I have noticed a lot of soil matter has been decreasing in my cinder blocks, unlike my dill that didn't take very long to grow. Not much. So next year I will definitely be heaping the pile up with soil. We have my dill over here, which is really, really great. I love it. It looks great. Very beautiful, I think. Then we have the tarragon here that I definitely know is tarragon now. We have the flat leaf parsley, and the curled parsley, which are doing really well. Then we have my broccoli that I'm actually going to cut back and see what happens after that. It is going to seed. You can tell that it's going to seed because once the flower falls off, you get these little seed pods. So I might just harvest some of the seeds from here. Then we have my onions here. This is the scallion variety. So we'll see how that's going. Then we have my brain freeze. Garlic. We have garlic here. Nothing really happening with the garlic. I don't expect anything to happen with the garlic. Better time to plant garlic is in the fall for the following spring. And then we have my broccoli here. This one is just starting to go to flower. So I'm going to wait till that goes to seed as well and harvest the seeds. Then my cilantro, which is doing really, really well. Cilantro is a big herb in this family. It's doing great. I love it. Then we have the salvia here. We have the aloe that I moved from over there to here to get better sun. And then the strawberry. As you remember, there was a hanging strawberry over here that I actually have over here. It literally was ripped off the vine, and if you can see, it's growing some moss actually on the top. So I moved the one strawberry plant that was growing into my bucket. It has some strawberries here growing, as you can see, and we'll see how it goes. Strawberries aren't really a big concern for me for this year because I have so much more going on than I did last year. Over here we have my zucchini and my carrots. I really, really, really do not like this soil. So for next year, I am going to get rid of this bed, follow the cinder block all the way through, level out this soil, and throw some better soil on top with some weed protection in between because there's a lot of weeds growing in here along with my corn. The corn is doing pretty well. I did plant a new seed of corn here and has yet to grow up, which makes sense because the soil is very hard when it rains. Then I have my zucchini here. Some of the leaves have come off from the wind, and there's a lot of eating going on here. Not much growth, maybe just a little bit of growth, some new leaves, but you can tell they're having nutrition deficiency from the way that the leaves look. Then you have my, I have a lot of stuff in glass, it looks like. My beets as well in the cinder blocks, not really growing much. They're pretty much getting drowned out, and the soil is so hard and thick that it's not really giving me much of anything to work with. So, soil's not all that great to work with. Having never worked with it before. And this is just a pre-existing soil in my yard. So, better luck next year, I guess, with this section. And, learning process. I know that my beds over there are doing great. We'll just have to do something different next year for this. I've kind of given up on the compost. I am planning on emptying this out. As you can see, it's just a big pile of wet mold, and I plan on getting some horse manure. It worked for me that last year, and I tried to do something a little bit more veganic. Doesn't work for me. I prefer the horse manure. That's what I'm going to go with. So in this bed I have flowers. I have my lavenders here, cosmos in the middle that are really growing beautifully. Then I have some lavender at the end. My ivy is getting a tad bit bigger. Not much bigger than when I bought it, but I'm not really concerned. Given the rest of this year into next, once the weather gets a little hotter, I think it will start to grow a little bit better. Now at this end, I have the watermelon seeds that I germinated in the paper towel that I transferred to my garden. And what I am going to do is I'm going to allow this to grow that away. And then I have the watermelon that I bought from the store. It's a Bonnie watermelon seed, as you can see, crimson sweet. I'm going to allow that to grow kind of in the vicinity I don't want it to take up the room from that watermelon, so the watermelon will be growing along here. Now, the other thing that I will be doing over the next couple of weeks is I have literally like a forest growing in the rest of my, the side of my parking. You take a weed whacker to it, put some weed fabric down, and then I will be throwing some soil along here and growing wildflowers. That will be the next little project that I do. But today, that's the update that I have going on in the vegetable garden, with some anticipation for what's going to be happening next. It is June 12th. I hope you enjoyed the update for today. And please, if you like my videos, please hit like or subscribe to my channel so you can be updated as soon as I post videos.